Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being with us tonight. We will move right on into our public hearings for this evening. First of all, I'll read the rules of order for public hearing matters. The hearing shall be presided over by the mayor. After calling the hearing to order, the mayor shall request that the parcels of property which are the subject of the zoning proposal to be identified and read. Following such identification and reading, the development director's recommendation shall be presented. The mayor and city council shall cause the director's written recommendation to be made part of the record. Proponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning the zoning decision. If all 10 minutes are not used, the proponent's remaining time may be reserved for rebuttal. Opponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning each zoning decision. The presentation times may not be reduced, but may be extended by majority vote, provided they are expanded equally for proponents and opponents. Anyone wishing to speak must come to the microphone and give their name and address to the city clerk. Do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. And are we filling out the cards tonight? Yeah, okay. So there's cards up at the microphone that you'll need to fill out as you come up to speak, and hand those to the city clerk before you exit. So with that, I'll call the public hearing to order. First up on the agenda is 3353 PZ 2022-947 Chamblee Plaza Food Kiosk Variances and Waivers.
Thank you, Mayor. Andrew Russell, Planning and Development Department, Deputy Director. Thank you. So the application is for Chamblee Plaza, located at 5544 Peachtree Boulevard. The applicant has requested a total of four variances and 10 waivers. One thing that I would mention is this is the first month where we've received applications following the UDO amendments at the end of the month. So some things that you're used to seeing requests for as variances are now waivers, such as Chapter 230, Article 2, the streetscape and architectural standards. I just wanted to mention that. Property is Zone VC, Village Commercial, 17-acre total parcel. So this particular application is for the demolition of a paved area approximately behind the Chick-fil-A site and in front of Ace Hardware and the restaurant and some other stores there. We're referring to it as a food kiosk area with outdoor seating. The buildings would be constructed of shipping containers and kitchens installed. 640 square feet of building area, around 3,500 square feet of landscape island area that would comprise it. Water and sewer lines, electricity run from either fixtures that are in the parking lot there or from the main buildings under the surface of the parking area, not running any conduits out there, anything like that. 11 total parking spaces would be in the row for the outdoor seating just north of it. Would note that not obtain all the sustainability measures, have parking spaces located between the building and the street, waivers related to the site and landscaping, as well as architectural ones, everything from 230-27, metal buildings not meeting the fenestration requirements, minimum building facade height, not having a heat reflective roof, direct pedestrian accessibility to the street, public street, building facades not immediately at the back of the supplemental zone. The supplemental zone acts as a build-to line essentially, and we're talking about Ivy Lane. So here are some black and white elevations of the buildings facing west and south, and then facing north and east. A nice color rendering of the site, colored versions of the buildings. And that's where the sign would go. Some pictures of the area. So staff reviewed that request against the review and approval criteria for variances and waivers, and ultimately has recommended denial of all of the requests. Should council motion to approve it, we recommend that it be conditioned to the site plans with two additional conditions that are in your packet. Notably, one of them is that the applicant would go to the design review board and then back to council after that. Kind of an interesting one. So that's all I've got.
Very good. John, anything to add?
Andrew, could you point out on the waivers, you mentioned that some of those would have been variances before. Could you point out which ones had changed, or and were they, when they were changed, they were given more options to meet those requirements? Is that correct?
That's correct. I don't have the new criteria for waivers open in front of me, but can certainly get it open shortly. I don't recall it word for word off the top of my head, but yes, the purpose of taking some things that were previously variances and making them waivers, such as on the screen, everything that's in section 230-27 there. So that's and 230-26, because they're both in Article 2 of Chapter 230. So 8 of those would have been variances before. So we, council adopted some criteria that are just more applicable than just simply, topographical challenges. Actually, to really to make it maybe an easier connection, a more applicable connection to getting to recommending approval.
To provide options. Yeah.
Correct.
Anything else, John? All right, anybody wishing to speak in favor of this item, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Matt Coderall.
Good. Don't forget to fill out that handy little card there before you leave us today.
My name is Ben Westmoreland. Good evening. I am a partner on Chamblee Plaza with Trinity, and we're here to ask for your favorable approval. I'm sorry. For a dynamical amenity we're trying to add to the plaza. We need it.
You don't seem to need your voice carried. Great.
Almost crashed.
Oh boy, okay. So while working with our engineers on some ways to minimize some of the negative traffic issues we have coming our way, to the interior of the site, we saw an opportunity to close a drive aisle, and a real short drive aisle, while maintaining our parking count and creating a nice little island in its place. This accomplished several things. It eliminated a potential for some traffic confusion. It made the area safer by keeping most of the exiting traffic from the drive-through and the parking lot on the main drives and outside of that little drive, which really could create 2 or 3 different exit points. And we've got a stop sign on the main drive that we really want to push everybody to, because it's a safer situation. It also created an opportunity to add just a cool design feature in the form of a self-contained food and retail pocket park. And we kind of came upon that idea, and it stemmed from conversations in the past with the neighborhood groups that we consistently heard from them years ago, was that they wanted a desire for local chef-driven restaurants, food artisans, and retailers. So this concept really kind of accomplishes that in a minimalistic way. So it gives the ability for somebody that's new and a new entrepreneur, they can go into this space at just a really small margin of what it would normally cost to open a business. And hopefully that would be an incubator for them to make it into larger spaces anywhere in Chamblee, maybe even in our center, but anywhere. But it's a real good way for somebody to get their foot in the door. We realize we're asking for a substantial amount of variances and waivers for the UDO. But what we're hoping to do with this small space is create an amenity for the neighborhood in the center that will breathe like a little more energy and excitement there and be just a little non-conforming and a little edgy and a little trendy. So what we're trying to do really might not fit in that, but it's kind of what we're hoping for, because we've got a lot of conforming. And so we're just reaching out a little bit. So we're only asking for 640 square feet, and we have not lost one parking space. So we've just reoriented the parking. So it's kind of minimalistic what we're doing there, but it's going to be pretty exciting. So giving it kind of an outsized enhancement to the site, and we will still exceed all of our parking requirements under the DCI, and we'll have a much safer parking lot. So, and also you'll notice on the site plan that there's going to be a sidewalk all the way around the site and 2 points of access. We'll have landscaping all around the site, plus there'll be a barrier with the containers themselves. And then we'll have landscaping, and we'll push everybody to the sidewalk in front of Ace, and that will be the only pedestrian access to the site. So we have architects and engineers here. If you have any questions, and they're much smarter than I, and they can handle any questions you may have for this. Thank you.
You have about 7 minutes left. If anybody wishes to speak in favor of this project, you can also save that time for rebuttal if you wish to. Anyone here that wishes to speak in opposition of this project? How you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. It's good to see you again.
You as well.
And for those of you who were not around in 2020 when the Chick-fil-A project was approved, my name is David Kirk. I'm with the law firm of Troutman Pepper, here representing Chick-fil-A. Each of you should have gotten a letter delivered to you just before the meeting from me. I apologize for its late arrival, but I'll explain why in just a moment. With me this evening are a couple of folks from Chick-fil-A. Teresa Wilson, who's the owner and operator, is out of town and was not able to be here this evening. But with me is Joyce Jones, who is the manager of the Chick-fil-A, which is going to be opening next week, I'm told, and Mr. Rex Powell, who you may remember from our earlier applications. As I noted, back in July of 2020, the mayor and council approved rezoning and variances to allow for the new Chick-fil-A project to move forward. As I mentioned, that's almost finished with construction and should be open within a week's time. Frankly, it was just yesterday that we found out about this project. And it was a chance encounter on site while a staff member from the county or from the city was out inspecting some things and mentioned to one of the Chick-fil-A folks, they were asked what was going on, and they said, well, there's this food kiosk project. So that explains why my letter's so late to you. But Chick-fil-A has some very significant concerns about this project. You'll recall we spent a lot of time, a lot of discussion with staff, with you, with the folks from Trinity about the Chick-fil-A project. So it comes as a great surprise to us that this is coming forward without a peep to us from from Trinity. In fact, I've known Mr. Westmoreland for over 15 years and worked very closely with him on a number of projects until just a few years ago. So I'm surprised that I or no one from the Chick-fil-A team has heard from them. And I think just their failure to reach out even once during the pendency of and pursue this application is, as my letter says, at best it's unneighborly, and at worst it's a calculated effort to avoid discussing the proposal with Chick-fil-A in advance of this meeting, in advance of this public hearing. Looking at the substance of the application, we have three main concerns. The first is the traffic circulation, and while it may really work well for Trinity and Mr. Westmoreland and his folks, it does not work well for Chick-fil-A. You may recall we spent a lot of time talking about traffic circulation, and in fact, this body imposed a condition which we readily accepted to put a "don't block the box" markings and signage at the four-way intersection that Trinity now proposes to cut down to a three-way intersection. That's our main exit from our parking lot, the main entrance to our parking lot, and our drive-through. So it restricts the access, restricts the flow there, and we think that's going to create congestion downstream or upstream, I guess, in traffic planning terms, from that location. Second is the issue of signage. If this project goes forward as proposed, Andrew, could you go to the one that shows the signs, the black and white? That one. If you look in the lower right side of that slide, that's what will greet folks leaving the Chick-fil-A as they depart. I don't think that signage is necessary from a planning standpoint because you can't really see it from the street. The only place you can see it from is when you're exiting the Chick-fil-A parking lot. I submit that that's hazardous because it's a distraction in what is going to become a much more congested intersection than previously thought. Finally, I think just the overall design, would have to agree with staff throughout their report, but the overall design, the use of prohibited materials, the location of a shipping container food kiosk project flies in the face of the aesthetic that I think the city is trying to achieve here with Chamblee Plaza and certainly what they tried to achieve with Chick-fil-A. There's a saying in land use law that a pig in the barnyard is a good thing, but a pig in the parlor may not be. This is a pig in a parlor. This is not something that belongs where it's been proposed. I believe staff has suggested in their report that it go elsewhere on the property, closer to the street, as you required Chick-fil-A to do. And I would submit that if it does move forward, it should move forward with that in mind. I appreciate your time. I believe there's some other folks who would like to speak, so I'm going to be quiet, but we're happy to answer any questions you might have and hope to see you all over there sometime next week or soon after. Thank you.
Mr. Kirk. About 4.5 minutes left if anybody else wishes to speak in opposition.
My name is Ronnie Mayer. I'm a Chamblee businessman, and y'all who know me by now, I've been around for over 40 years as a businessman in Chamblee. And I've seen y'all try to make all the restaurants with drive-ins and drive-outs and islands and do everything. And so now you've got a shining star in Chamblee, Chamblee Plaza. So all the traffic problems have always been blamed on Chick-fil-A. Well, Chick-fil-A is not even opened yet, so y'all need to come by in the afternoon. Everybody changes. I don't know how many of y'all own her businesses and try to do things right, but go there in the afternoon sometime about 3:30 or 4:30 when everybody's trying to exit the gym, and you got 6 or 8 cars leaving on Broad Street at the red light, and you have blocked the entrance to Chamblee Plaza. So whoever's idea that was to bring that island out is just totally ludicrous. It don't work. And so somebody needs to go down there and look at it. And then you need to go over to Sandy Springs and see the shopping center over there that has these little dumpsters, I call them. If you put these in, you have cheapened. You've got Chick-fil-A that spent millions. You've got the Publix that spent millions. You've got these small guys, Ace Hardware. You know these people are going to come and take his parking places to eat at these little dumpsters. And it looks tacky. In Sandy Springs, there's a restaurant that's got 3 or 4 of them. Go there and ask all the restaurateurs and everybody in that shopping plaza what they think about it, and they'll tell you. And it just looks very tacky. So for all these years, Chamblee never had a grocery store. So now you got Publix that spent gazillions of dollars there, and now you're going to cheapen that shopping center by putting in these little dumpsters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. About 2 minutes left if anybody else wishes to speak in opposition. Seeing none, the applicant had about 7 minutes left. Did you want to use any of that time for rebuttal?
I can't, it seems like a matter of taste. I was going to bring up that shopping center in Sandy Springs because I live there, and that's Jamestown Properties, who just paid about $90 million for those shopping centers to put those I was at those kiosks last night, and I found them quite attractive. So that's kind of what we're looking for, and I apologize if Chick-fil-A didn't get the message, I guess, as a public knowledge, but I can't think of anything else unless y'all have some questions. We're here for you.
It may come up later in the conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, sir. All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, item number 3354, PZ 2022-958, Grapes and Grains sign variance. Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. So, this request is for a projecting sign on a single-tenant building located at 4783 Peachtree Road, just as you come into the city from the south from Brookhaven on Peachtree Road. It's the third property on the right. The business Grapes and Grains moved in there late last year. Village commercial, just under an acre. It is a retail beer, wine, and liquor store. So here's the request. Note, I would note in the UDO amendments in December, no changes to this section, this part of the code. There's nothing new. The applicant was, maybe working on a sign and the code's change or anything like that. This has been the same for a while. So here's the proposed sign superimposed onto a picture of the street-facing facade. On the left there, you can see where the big orange-red arrow is pointing. That's where it would go approximately. Just quick history on that. There's a picture showing the roof sign, which is considered their front sign. It's considered their front wall sign. It did receive a variance. Roof signs are a prohibited type of sign. Applicant did receive a variance last year for that sign to go on top of the roof portion just above the entrance. So they have that one sign. They are allowed by right to have a second wall sign. It would just have to be on a different facade than the street-facing facade. So it could be on the south-facing facade or north-facing facade, but they've requested it to be on the front. Also previous variances for parking and fenestration as well. One thing about the fenestration variance, here we go. I would mention, so on where you see the yellow, where the proposed projecting sign would go, below that is where a mural would go, per a condition from council related to the roof sign that was approved last year. Per that condition, the PAC, Public Art Commission, is to to review and make recommendation to City Hall on that final mural concept. And the blue shows on the street face of facade where that current roof sign is. So staff reviewing the criteria recommends denial of the request. And should council motion to approve it, it would be with the condition, just condition to the site plan and rendering proposed by the applicant. That's all I've got.
Thank you. John?
I would just add, staff does recommend denial on this. The applicant has already received a variance for one sign and is now coming back for a second variance. This is something that perhaps, if reviewed together, that was something that could have been reviewed at the same time, but they are coming back for a second variance. And again, we have not yet completed, or they've not yet received approval for the mural, so that is an outstanding item, and just wanted to bring that to your attention as well.
Thank you, John. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this variance?
Hi, I'm Ty Dealer, I'm the owner. Met many of you guys. Appreciate your time, Mayor, council members. A little bit of a surprise about the denial, to be honest with you. I think a little bit of history, is important in understanding why we need this sign for our building. We're doing it not for any reason other than we have a unique building that has a lot of hardships with the way the sign would work under the current code requirements. As Andrew mentioned, we're allowed 2 signs. We're sticking to only having 2 signs. The other signs need to be on another side or facade of the building. The challenge is that we have a very unique building, as you've seen from the if you can go back to the one picture that shows the front. Where the roof sign is, it's actually blocked entirely for all southbound traffic because it's recessed back and there's a second story. If you look to the left of that blue, you can't see that sign at all coming down. And you got people coming from Buckhead northbound and 50 miles an hour past the building. It's kind of a bow shape in the road. They can't see that roof sign until they're basically on top of it. Secondly, the building is recessed fairly far back off the property, off the road because of the right-of-way that was taken by GDOT in front of our parking lot. So we have no front signage options. We can't have a monument sign in the front of our building. We cannot have anything to the end of our parking lot because that sign was taken down as part of the conditions for the LDP. So the only areas that we can put a second sign, frankly, are on the north and south facades of the building, which you can't see at all. We're having a significant hardship, I can tell you, from the traffic and people coming by the building. They literally don't see it until they're past it because of our signage issues. It's really the only solution that we have. We've worked with the city happily. Honestly, I'm looking forward to the mural that we get up, and you've seen, some of the drafts that we've got, and we've taken all your comments into consideration. I think you'll be very happy with the proposal that we're going to have with you hopefully next week, if my artists can get everything together. Everything that you asked for in that meeting will be represented, in that sign. So take that as one piece of information as you look at this. But, to be honest with you, we just don't have any other options. We have no signage, effectively. We like the roof sign, frankly, because you guys did such a great job as a landmark for Chamblee, and that's something we wanted to emulate and have our building look like something that would, fit into what you're trying to create for Chamblee. We like that look. We thought it was artistic, and it was striking, and that's what we wanted. Same thing with the mural. You'll see that. It's exactly what you guys are looking for, and we just need some help. We don't have any visibility really at all from the road, and there's no options for our signage other than this sign. And it's just recessed, it's put up on the far left corner of the building. It's against the wall. It jets out, so that it can be seen both northbound and southbound side. And it's the only thing that we have. It's the only option we really have at this point. So appreciate your time.
Thank
you.
Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this variance? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Anybody want to exit the public hearing?
Motion to exit the public hearing.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. All in favor? All right. We will move right on into the work session part of the agenda. And it looks like we have a presentation this evening from Discover Dekalb. Hiding back there in the back. Didn't even see you come in.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. A couple new faces and a lot of the originals. So excited. I am James Isabenakis. I am the Executive Director of Discover Dekalb. We represent Chamblee for tourism, marketing, conventions, anything like that. Going to go over a report. You have a great committee, so I'm here representing the Convention and Visitor Bureau as well as the marketing committee. So I'm going to go through here, and Brian told me I only had like an hour, so I'm going to try to speed this up. So I'm sure you all know all your hotels, but of course you have the Sonesta as your suite property, Studio 6. The Atlanta Marriott Century Center is, of course, your high-end product. Extended Stay across the street, Quality Inn Northeast, Super 8, the Wood Springs, Hometown Suites, and the Holiday Inn, the brand new property with the rooftop bar and restaurant. So tourism dollars, I'm sure you all understand when you stay in a hotel and you go out to eat and you buy gas and you go to the grocery store, and then the people you're employing go out and spend their money and the dollars just start turning. So tourism is a great investment for a community, and it brings in a lot of new dollars from out-of-town people and your visitors who spend money. So it's a great piece. Kind of giving you an overview of the county. If you look at this, DeKalb County brings in $190 million in lodging, $315 million in food and beverage, $107 million recreation, retail, so it brings in a total of $982 million to the county. As far as jobs that's created, we have 10,314 employees, and the interesting thing I think right here is it brings $267 in savings to the citizens of DeKalb from tourism. So that's a nice piece. If you look at that, our job out there is to do marketing relations. We do it through public relations. We do it through digital marketing with Google. We do it through social media, Facebook, Instagram, and about to start I'm right out of my mind. Well, I'll come back to it. We're about ready to start TikTok. That's so new that I still haven't quite figured out TikTok, but we're going to be one of the first bureaus getting into TikTok. You like TikTok? Oh, I tell you, I don't think you're going to see me in TikTok. And then we're also going to be talking about our Expedia campaigns and all, so we're excited about that. So our objective is to market and promote Chamblee. It's downtown, it's assets, it's parks and recs. We want to bring the festivals and all to the equation. We want to promote a great work-life balance for Chamblee. So we're there to promote all of that. A lot of the great dining opportunities in Chamblee. There's a lot of great dining downtown or on International Buford Highway. So we're here, and primary market due to COVID is leisure. Everything's leisure-based right now. We're hoping business travel will kind of pick up towards the middle of the year. Thinking of meetings picking up towards the end of the year. Sports is already starting to pick up some. But right now, leisure travel is the main market for the area. Going to hope to increase the hotel occupancy, work to expand room nights through Expedia and some of our other campaigns, increase the awareness of Chamblee, of course, through our marketing, digital, and social. And here's the interesting part, of course, the new Holiday Inn with the rooftop bar and restaurant. Love saying that because it's our only one we have. And Chamblee's hotel occupancy, when we talk numbers, we really kind of forget 20. I mean, 20 was just so horrible. So we have it there, but we're comparing 19 and 21. So if you look at your occupancy in Chamblee, 66% for 21, 61% for 20, and 72% for 19. So you've been hit hard because your big hotel is a corporate hotel and a meeting hotel. So you really have been hit very hard with the Marriott. If you look at the ADR, average daily rate, in 19 was $76.33. In 21, $69.32. And RevPAR, which is revenue per available room, and I kind of look at that as the money you take to the bank. So in 19, you were doing $55. In 21, $46. So you are up considerably, figure 46 versus 38 in 2020. It's just kind of, anybody likes charts, this is the chart that you can look at when you have time at home. And revenue, important number for everyone here, you brought in $20,931,000 plus in hotel revenue in 21 versus $25,069 in 19. You're above 20. Well, one of the things we talked about, COVID has really forced us into areas that we did not used to get into, areas that we had no interest in. But COVID has brought us into an area like Expedia. We didn't think about that. Hotels, Expedia is a nice byproduct. You know, you filled up a few rooms when you could, but it wasn't a market. But with that, with COVID, we created a landing page for Expedia, and you'll see some of our advertising that is on the Expedia page to get you to come to the landing page for Chamblee, talking about its parks, talking about restaurants, things to do. Sells the hotels. You can click on the hotels. Another way you can click to get to the hotels. And this is the actual return. This is true bookings, true revenue. So if you look at Dekalb, it brought in $3 million plus in 2021. If you look at the more important part of Chamblee, it has brought in $765,000 plus in true bookings. And it has, so if you look at how we've done, you can kind of compare. We started this in last quarter of 20, and then this is all of 21. So you can figure it's been good for us. If you look at this as far as the hotels, the Sonesta has done the very best, followed by the Marriott Century Center, Quality Inn, Wood Springs. It just goes down to the economies. Not a lot of Super 8 and Motel 6s are really booked on Expedia, so it's more of the medium high-end properties. So that is, if you look at Sonesta, $251,000 that we were able to drive to that hotel, bringing money to the city. This, I think, is interesting. Again, it brought in $765,000 gross bookings. Does she have the wrong? She just has the wrong name. She brought in 7,057 room nights and $25,000 in ad spend, and it brought in a $30 return on investment. I'd love to have investments that would do that. At least none of mine are. Another thing we looked at due to COVID is Priceline. So Priceline didn't perform anywhere near as well as Expedia, but if you take Expedia out, Priceline performed extremely well, but when you compare it, it did not. So this is kind of what we've got on our landing page for Priceline, showing you here in Q4, it brought in $146,152 in gross bookings, $5 return. $5 is still not a bad return, but when you compare it to Expedia, didn't make the cut. So we're really not doing Priceline this coming year. So you can kind of see how it compares room nights sold. So if you look at fourth quarter, we're up 30%, coming from 19 to 2020. Okay, something else we started due to COVID is the state of Georgia, Explore Georgia, had a co-op program where they matched our money, so we went into TripAdvisor. Now, TripAdvisor is a great program, but you cannot generate the room nights. It has the click-throughs to get you interested, or a lot of people like me, I'll go search TripAdvisor, but then I'll go book on some other site. But this one, we actually spent $10,000, got it matched by the state, and it brought in 1,029,000 impressions, still not a bad number, with 929 click-throughs. The economic impact, now again, that's an impact, that's not a direct number like Expedia, was over $1 million, almost $500,000. So still really strong, but we have to remember we cannot guarantee those numbers. We have a brand new Chamblee brochure, just came out. We produced this not long ago, has hotels in it, of course all the assets of Chamblee, dining, shopping, lodging, map, like the dog on the front. And then this is a brand new visitor guide. We have not had one in a couple years, again, due to COVID. So this is a brand new visitor guide that was just produced, marketing the entire county, all of our cities, our attractions, our dining, retail options. Another part of the visitor guide is focusing on BuHi. I think that's always a great piece to do, arts and culture. Then you've got advertising that we've produced. Know Atlanta, so it's advertorial, so story in an ad format. And then another known Atlanta ad, 5 reasons to visit, come and see Chamblee. And then in April, we did a billboard campaign for Discover BuHi International Food Trail. 2021, goals and objectives. So again, to heighten awareness of Chamblee, deliver room nights and economic impact to Chamblee, pitch media for Chamblee. These are some of the outlets that we've been able to get social media. We have a great, actually in Chamblee, great PR firm called Pineapple we work with. Started 2 weeks prior to COVID hitting. We hired them 1st of March, and then COVID hit. These are the pieces we've been able to get into. So CBS Atlanta, U.S. News, Lonely Planet, Creative Loafing, Atlanta Planet, Georgia, Explore Georgia, Southern Living. Southern Living in the old days used to be the Bible for tourism. Okay, campaign brought in $32 million in value, 12 plus million in impressions, or as people say, eyeballs. Actually, you have to double that for eyeballs, but still, impressions. This is some of the different PR articles we're able to get. Beaver Highway and Thrillist, and then how to reheat shrimp. I have to read that. Don't know how to really do that. With over almost 8 million people. And then again, how to reheat shrimp. That must be very popular. And then if you look at Atlanta Traveler, 7 fun ways to have a blast with your family. So Peachtree Airport, PDK. And you're going to have a new little library there soon. Yeah, we already got the books. We're just waiting on the building to be built. Of course, Foodie Traveler, talking about different Asian restaurants. And then Southern Living, as I said, used to be the Bible. So you can actually watch the video if you're online. Atlanta Best of, ATL. Carve Kitchen. Anybody been there? Pretty cool. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? And digital results. If you go in here, our digital marketing, Google Ads, 332,000 plus, users, 379,000 plus. These are some of the click-ons that we have to drive you to our website. And if you look at our top metro areas, and this has been consistent for the 11 years that I've been here, and if anybody can tell me why Atlanta's number 1, I'd love to know. We can have all kinds of ideas that we think, because Atlanta's the biggest city, Atlanta's the family reunion area that comes to us. Atlanta is such a big geographical area that it's number 1. But Atlanta's number 1, Orlando, number 2, Charlotte, Nashville, Birmingham, Greenville-Spartanburg, Memphis, Miami, further down, Columbia. Now what's interesting is a few years ago, Florida only showed up in the winter. Now Florida is showing up year-round in our numbers. So the change has really occurred. The Orlando, Daytona Beach, the Miami, and sometimes Jacksonville didn't make this cut, but those areas did not show up until last couple of years full-time. And one of the things with COVID, we were the first big city out of Florida. So we got a lot of Florida traffic here because of COVID. These I'm going to just show these. I'm not going to really talk about them all, but these are just different social media posts that we've done. Dog again, very cute. Everybody likes the ice cream place. The dog. Yeah. Sushi, I'm ready. Oh, look at the pancakes, I'm ready. Okay, I'll take those. Getting some great shots here. Different dog, cute. Now I love that shot at Goose. I think that's pretty cool. Got the murals. So So we got a lot of different concepts that we're promoting from the social media realm. We try to kind of cover everything. There's a dog. We got a lot of dogs. People love their dogs. We had to get Brian's dog in there, Mayor's dog. That would be something we add. A lot of Parks and Rec pictures. This is more of the social media, getting the little clips, dogs. Now, what was that book? Little Library. Not the one we're doing, but. Okay, events we've done. We do a lot of family reunion workshops. We used to do them all live, obviously, before COVID. But after COVID, we started doing them all online, and then when COVID just seemed like it was never going to end, we started doing live and then online and kind of back and forth. So this is free workshops to learn how to plan your family reunion. We're still heavily in trying to do that. We're not finding a lot of success yet, but it's always, well, when everything calms down, then we want to do it. So we're still marketing to these people, doing free workshops to try to get them when they start feeling comfortable to meet, that we're the first people in mind. So just more of their workshops. Okay, we do partner meetings every month. We have different concepts, like we had Expedia there, we've had the State Tourism, we've had Parks and Rec, we've had Georgia Grown, which I thought was interesting. That was one of the best ones we had, which I would not have thought was actually going to be a good one, and it really was. The STR partnership. So we do these every month, attractions, hotels, elected officials come. This is our meetings that we're going to do. I guess these were the meetings we did. Looking ahead, we're going to keep Expedia all year long, unless COVID just happens to stop and then we bust open, but we're planning it for all year. Going to continue our stories, PR, trying to meet. We just had a 3-hour planning meeting yesterday with our PR firm. Social media will stay strong. Hitting the drive markets, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Virginia, Kentucky. So again, everything right around us. We're going to focus on staycations to get you to come here just to spend the weekend, road trips to get you out, family reunions, weddings, outdoor adventure, food, culinary, all strong pieces for Chamblee. This is a dining guide that we just produced. And this is a 2-page spread that we put in the Explore Georgia, which is the main piece that the state of Georgia uses. Top 5 reasons to discover Dekalb. It's a full page we did in the palette, focusing on food, recreation. We are getting ready to this is our one from a couple years ago. We're getting ready to redesign this and relaunch it with a total new format, much more coffee table type book, much more stories and articles. We are redesigning our website. We just approved for a whole new website launch. It'll be about 7 months. But we're going to have a new website, a lot more video. Everything's moving to video today. Pictures were king, now video is king. So we're going to be launching in a lot more video components. We're going to do a beer trail. We're actually going to be joining in the Bureau in Decatur, and us will join together and do a beer trail. Of course, there'll be Hop Sticks here and others. Family reunion workshop will still continue on. You can go to the one Saturday, March 19th, right here at Marriott Century Center, or the new name, Northeast Atlanta, Emory area. This is all of our different partnership meetings. You're welcome to attend any of them. It's on Zoom. We'd love to have you. Love that the hotels are in it. So, and these are different updates. Explore Georgia's going to give an update. We're going to have our family reunion expert do an update. how to fix or help or enhance your online reputation. Marketing, LGBTQ, different meetings for the advisory committee. And this is just telling you where we are with COVID, something if you want to look at it at your leisure, then really trying to explain that it's just some charts that we have for fun, and unfortunately it's low. Still people aren't completely ready to travel from COVID. And thank you, we end with a dog. So we appreciate the opportunity to come and present to you all. And I don't know if this is a question and answer thing or...
Yeah, anybody else would have cut you off, but you're talking my language, so I love this.
Well, I figured you would cut me off, so I just kept going.
Yeah, I love this. Any questions for James? No questions? Thank you,
Thank
James.
you. I appreciate
you
it.
being here with us this evening. Thank you. All right, we'll move on down to staff action items. Comments, concerns for the public hearing work session minutes? Nothing? City council minutes, anything? Nothing? We have a bunch of appointments here that we will have to discuss on Tuesday, items number 2 through 7. Can we take all of those at one time? And I believe Councilman Mesa has something he would like to
I
add.
think we need to add the DDA appointment, the council's DDA appointment to the agenda for Tuesday.
So Councilman Mesa is requesting to add an item to the agenda.
Why-
We do that in March.
But we have a vacancy because
I understand, but.
we don't fill that into March?
Correct.
You were told something else by the city manager.
You can take that up if you would like. We do have the vacancy that came. That vacancy is specific to the commission, to the council.
Right.
So the council appointment, you could take that up at any point.
We'll let Leo and Laura, if we're wrong, and then we'll get it.
So we can always add it on Tuesday night if we need to.
Y'all can figure that out tomorrow, whatever. It doesn't have to be settled right tonight, right?
No, we can add it on Tuesday.
Or we can add it on Tuesday also?
I have a minor housekeeping comment. Section 12, that Beth Zubia is hereby appointed. Her name is spelled D-U-B-I-A, not D-E-B-I-A. Did we get that right?
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, under city manager, ARPA sanitation budget amendment.
I'll take this one over here. I know that this has been brought up several times over the last few months, so I appreciate your patience as we waited for that final guidance to be issued. Back in January, I believe it was January 6th, they issued the final guidance on how the American Rescue Funds could be spent. It took a couple of weeks to comb through about 500 pages, but the initial recommendations that we put together and put in front of you a couple months ago, we were able to verify most of those are allowed under the final guidance, with the exception of the sanitation vehicles that we had originally requested. And so basically what the final guidance did was confirm that we are able to do Dresden Park and Village Park. They're in the qualified census tracts. It mitigates COVID, all that good stuff. There is some stipulation that if we move forward with funding capital projects like that, there's a pretty extensive justification narrative process that we'll have to go through and submit pretty regularly with our reporting. But overall, nothing really significantly changed outside of that. We've gone ahead and put together the budget amendment to include all the expenditures related to the Dresden Park Master Plan implementation, the Village Park restroom facility, and the technology improvements that were originally included in that recommendation. So Swagit video production, a new website, and Gov Pilot.
Very good. Questions from council? Nothing? Good job.
Thank you.
We also,
Yeah, sorry about that.
we also, in addition to that, have in this budget amendment the sanitation vehicles. Originally, the intent was to when the initial rules came out, it was our understanding that we could use those to purchase vehicles to improve service and to help with the staffing shortages and staffing issues that COVID caused. Per the final rule, that capital outlay was not something that was considered an applicable use of ARPA funds. So we are asking for, also within this budget amendment, $650,000 to be used from reserve funds to purchase 2 mini rear loaders, 2 park hands, 1 tractor truck, and 3 F-250 trucks. And again, this goes back to being able to operate a little bit more efficiently with the mini loaders and park hands with smaller crews, essentially.
Well, I don't remember what a park can is, so could you help me with that?
That is the apparatus that goes on the back of the trucks. So when staff is in like the downtown area, you really can't necessarily maneuver the rear loading vehicles through there as easily, so it allows them to just, it's an attachment to a pickup truck. Yes.
I think my battery's dying.
One hot question about the ARPA. When is the second tranche of funds supposed to come in? Do we know?
April, maybe. It should be the spring of 2022. In fact, what we did in this budget amendment is went ahead and preemptively assumed that it would be delivered here in the next couple of months.
Hold on.
I did have one follow-up question. We did see a pretty big delta between initial Dresden Park investment to what we've come to. Can you explain a little bit how we came to that?
Jody, do you want to take a step at that?
Sure. So the original cost estimate and master plan was done by Foresight Group pre-COVID. So when we asked them to update the cost estimate on it, we also had them fix a few things on the master plan because we had actually put some of that in Arrow Creek Park right outside here. So they adjusted the master plan, and then based off of COVID numbers and the costs of everything now that's sky high, that's how come there's such an increase in the cost.
And I also believe, Jody, that it includes a change to the building at Dresden Park.
That is correct. In the original master plan, we did not include a new building or a new playground for that matter. So this new master plan does include a new building and a new playground. With the new playground, they are moving it as such so we can add more parking. So by moving it, we'll end up getting 70-some new parking spaces with that. The new building, which we asked them to add, would be able to house the after-school program, so we wouldn't have to hold it in this building anymore. We could also run potentially camps out of there, just like we do over at Keswick Park, as well as other programs throughout the year. It could also be used for meeting space, similar to the Keswick Community Center.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the second time I've brought this to your attention. Based on the feedback that we had last month, staff did go and look at the numbers that came back from the census and provided an additional option for consideration with redistricting. The effort here is due to the fact that the population has changed in the city, and the distribution of that population is not evenly dispersed between districts. Our goal is to have as evenly dispersed a population as possible. So we have staff has reviewed this and has provided 2 options for consideration, one of which gets within 4% distribution, and one is actually much closer. This is something that the city can adopt new districts after every census through an ordinance. So this does not have to go to the legislature. This is something that we can do through ordinance, but we can only do it once after every census. So we have actually put this information and the census information on our website. I've shown the website here, but this is also linked on our webpage. So it's a page. If you go to our website, it should be under the news section, and you can link right to that. And we have opened that up for input. If anyone would like to review the potential maps, review the source data, the census data, and provide any feedback for us to consider, for the council to consider prior to moving forward.
When was that first posted?
It was posted yesterday, I believe, just recently. Yes, right.
And John, I'll just say y'all did an excellent job on putting that together. I'm not going to comment on the overall map. I'm just saying the website, the page, it's excellent. Couldn't have been better.
Thank you. I think staff did great. We are keeping it open, I believe, for a month. Is that correct? Yeah, 30 days.
So there's no plan, or is there a plan, or does council want a plan for any kind of public meeting input kind of thing, or I don't even know how.
But at this point, I think, whether it's, an April adoption or a May adoption, I'm not sure would really have that much of an impact.
Okay. Anything else? No? Anything? All right. Next item up is the CID project letter of support.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a request from the Chamblee Doraville Community Improvement District. They are pursuing grant funding from the Livable Centers Initiative to conduct a study, and this study is focused on east-west connections with regards to the rail system, and they are seeking support from the cities for that. I don't see Malika here, so if anyone is here to speak to that. Okay. But she and I did have a good conversation about this, and the goal here is to have an LCI study along Peachtree Road and New Peachtree that really focuses on east-west connections to get people across the railroad tracks.
Very good. And that's not a money commitment, that's just a letter of support?
It's just a letter of support. The CID has actually committed the funds for this project.
Very good. Questions from council? Anything? Very good. All right, circling back to where we started, Development Department. Chamblee Plaza food kiosk variants and waivers, anything from council?
I have a question for the applicant.
If the applicant would come up.
And Andrew, could you bring one of the site plans? I think it had you said it had the Chick-fil-A overlaid in it, and it showed the map, I guess, I don't know, the black and white. version. Can you enlarge that? Yes, perfect. All right. So, okay, there's the box. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I've been concerned about the block the box, especially the traffic coming from like the hardware store area, and if the vehicles did, stop there, people wouldn't be able to get out of those parking spaces. So I do like the fact that problem has been fixed, but I'm trying to understand if it will cause problems in other ways. I mean, it seems like you're extending their stacking lane further out and not backing it into traffic the way I look at it, but I could be wrong on that. Did you have any thoughts on that when you designed that and how that?
That was part of it, and also just, fewer points of access. There's plenty of access points here. There's driveways everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all converging right here. And one of that short aisle that we took out was not really accomplishing anything. There was like 2 or 3 parking spaces there, and it was a great way for people just to try to invade the line, kind of cut the line, whatever. There's a stop sign at the end of that main drive in front of 8th. And the more people we could get to the main drive to that stop sign, the safer the situation is in our city, as opposed to cutting through and hitting that drive aisle at an angle. So it slows things down. It maneuvers them to points with traffic calming.
Stop signs. It just seems like and plus it just gives a better amenity also, but it's just a safer plan.
Yeah, I mean, I would be mad if I came off Peachtree Boulevard and the stacking did end up, which I've seen many times at other locations they're very popular restaurants. I've seen them back out on the main roads and
they'll take, it's like water, they're just gonna take the easiest point.
Opportunity to do that, but I mean, it also, if I had come off Peachtree Boulevard and I was waiting through that stack and trying to get over there, and then you have some knucklehead coming in from the hardware store and that would be kind of...
Yes, sir.
That could be a road rage situation, but again...
Well, there's a lot of opportunity for confusion with the existing...
Sure. Okay, that's it. That's all I have.
Stay up there. I've got plenty more questions. Go ahead.
Does Trinity lease the grounds to Chick-fil-A right now?
I'm sorry?
Do you lease the grounds to Chick-fil-A
No,
right now?
they own their real estate.
Is there any right refusal they can have with the ownership stake?
I don't know. There is an agreement with Chick-fil-A over some parking issues and easements, but I'm not sure. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know.
So talk to me about Burnett.
Well, we're going to have to, that's going to be part of our maintenance program in the shopping center, and it's going to require.
So each one of these restaurants are going to have a can?
They'll have a can.
And it will be inside their restaurant?
There'll be some outside receptacles also, because there'll be customers needing to use those. So it's going to take some diligence.
Those would be cans?
Yes.
And then they're going to have to be transported to behind the shop?
They'll have to go around the center. They'll put them in their cars or their trucks or whatever.
Bingo, or one of those.
It's kind of like running a little tiny food hall, where there's a common area and you have to just you have to take some management. And it's an amenity. This is not a big profit generator for us. This is more of an amenity.
And do you, what kind of traffic do you expect? Who do you think is going to be?
There's 640 square feet there. So these are going to be like little pop-up kitchens. They're going to be seasonal. They're going to be open sometimes. They're not going to be open sometimes. Weather's going to be a lot of the factor. There's not a lot of people going to sit out there when it's 40 degrees, and there's not a lot of people that sit out there when it's 120 degrees. You're not going to sit on top of it. But it's going to be seasonal, and it's going to give operation. There'll be different operators for different seasons. There'll be popsicles in the summer, and there'll be chili in the winter, and so forth. But these are not going to be high-volume stores. No. But they don't have to be, because this is going to be an affordable place for somebody to operate a small business.
And so you see this location as actually solving some problems?
Well, it solves some definite traffic issues.
That's what it was talking about.
That's how this whole thing kind of got started.
And because of Chamblee, Huntley Hill's interest, Huntley Hillian's interest, you know, an amenity that is within walking distance of
Yes.
half of the neighborhood, that's, hopefully that's what a lot of the traffic is going to be, is walking traffic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councilmember, I would just mention that we do not have a traffic analysis in terms of this amenity. There's no traffic analysis. We're talking here about safety, and that's been brought up a lot, but I just want to reiterate that there's been no analysis of that conducted. We don't have that, and I don't want you to have the impression that that was part of the review process, because that did not occur.
So is that something that we can have done? I mean, this is part of the parking lot. So do we have, and that leads to another question I have, which is, street front facades needing fenestration. They're not street fronts, they're driveways.
Yes, can I speak to that?
And that would be, go ahead.
Thank you, John. Yes, Councilwoman, and one of they are driveways. And the buildings aren't allowed by right to be placed along those driveways in the middle of the parking lot. They're required to be placed at the back of the supplemental zone. In the purpose of the UDO, one of the things is encouraging the most appropriate use of land, building, and other structures throughout the city. And what the city has a long time ago adopted is having buildings, commercial buildings, up closer to the sidewalk and not back in. So.
I definitely like to see the traffic study. I just find it hard to compare this myself, going from slide to slide to slide to see the changes and what I would think would help, how they would affect Chick-fil-A as well as the rest of the shopping center. You know, I know that the team rehab and the medical center, they don't even have parking. Not to say that you're taking it away from them, but I also would be concerned that even the Ace Hardware and whatever's next to Ace Hardware is, those clients are going to want to park in those parking spaces that you're making, and
I would say they're better parking spaces situated this way than they are on the side now, in my opinion.
But they're not going to be dedicated parking spaces.
No.
You can't find a parking space for Ace Hardware or.
yeah. And then just, is Ace Hardware, for example, is the parking that's in front of their building dedicated to Ace?
No.
Okay, okay, I can see on that, the parking situation raises my concern. Not that I don't like the project. And let me ask you something about the quality of these containers. I know the only container, restaurant in a container situation that I'm aware of that I've actually physically seen, other than the rooftop, is the Da Vinci Donuts in the shops around Lennox.
Right.
In the corners there. It's a gorgeous building. It's very substantial looking. It doesn't look like a tornado might carry it away.
I doubt it.
You know,
Yep.
constructed and all that kind of stuff, and I would want to know that would be the result of building these as well.
Well, that would defeat the whole purpose if we put a bunch of crummy-looking containers out there. So, yeah, we're going to dress them up significantly, and they're going to have rails on the top with, it'll give them appearance of being a little higher because people are going to be up on the top. And, we got this idea from seeing a whole lot of examples of this, not to mention the Sandy Springs, which is brand new. They had food trucks, and they got rid of the food trucks and put these things out there. And to me, they look dynamic. They look really fantastic. So I've seen them in Denver, and we've seen them in all over, and it can be done really tastefully.
Was there any thought at all, consideration at all to, I know that this solves the little parking congestion and the driveway and all that right here, but was there any consideration about putting this up by the street in front of the public?
No, this all came because of this gore that we developed from the traffic mitigation. So it's there because of just trying to calm traffic. And when we saw this big green space, it was like, hey, but this is kind of a cool space.
I want to just kind of search out.
Are you trying to answer some questions?
I was more inviting myself.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate, I just wanted to reiterate that we do, sure. I just want to reiterate that we do not have, in talking about solving a problem, I'm not sure that analysis has been done, at least not at our level. So, okay.
That'll be my question. Our staff already has a condition of approval.
No, well, sorry. Condition, we recommended denial.
Yes, but
Okay.
it's approved, okay, condition is approved, but
Yes.
to go back before ARB and then back before council. Is that to be added? There it is, right there, number 3, condition number 3.
Sure, so staff's report,
Add that to like condition number 4, that, also.
right, a more comprehensive review. So in the staff report, we identified that if there had been an overall strategy for the entire parking area, this may have been an appropriate proposal. Absent that, we couldn't recommend supporting it. So to add a condition makes sense, but I wouldn't limit it just to a traffic impact. I would recommend, if it's useful to you, to think that the applicant work with the other property owners and the other tenants to assess how a more comprehensive way to infill that parking lot. So great idea to convert big parking spaces, right, to activate it. However, to do it so piecemeal and isolated doesn't seem to meet the intent of your code.
So do an analysis of the entirety.
Thank you.
So to do an analysis of the entirety of the parking space, parking lot.
We would love that opportunity. Thank you, yes.
So, first off, having been over days over flying circles today and watching and ultimately drivers giving their license, yes, you just address that in the area. I watched her get 2 cars.
I can't think that my mother still drives 293, so.
So yes, there's some issues that need to be addressed. On the Connex project itself, I am a fan of these. I've been to a number of places around the country. I've designed with them for trade shows. What's your expected lifespan on this project?
I don't know the answer to that. We have not researched that. I think they start looking ready, they must put another one.
Right, but you're going to have plumbing, electrical, HVAC, so it's not just tear it out. It's not a storage shed.
Well, comparable to losing a tenant and putting a new tenant in a space.
Okay.
It's very similar.
Okay, for the roof decks, what is your proposed construction on that?
We'll probably put some, maybe E-Pay or something up there.
But you're looking at wood structure for all of that?
Either that or a composite, one or the other.
Okay, well, I mean, as far as the support, because the Connex boxes, those roofs are not designed to hold load.
No, we'll have to have.
So, yeah.
Take care of that.
Okay. And then similar with the staircases, I have concerns about spiral staircases in public spaces. To the point.
Not everybody's going to go up there, and there's going to be picnic tables.
No, right, but even in trade shows for a temporary installation, I cannot design a 2-story booth that uses a spiral staircase. They're not permitted. In any trade show hall. There are significant safety concerns about them. And you're also, these are short-term tenant appointments, so 30 to 90-day type leases.
Yeah, I mean, there's not going to be, 10-year leases on these. These are
No, understood.
short-term, pop-up,
Hmm.
and anything that makes sense. Cool.
Okay, but it's not gonna be like every week, it's something different. Okay. Okay, thank you.
I do have one other question. I saw that there was a list proposed on, if I read it correctly. What is that about?
I've been by Bernard over here to see.
Yes, she's going out.
That's not like a people list, or is it?
Good afternoon, this is Benai, Public New Architect. Code-wise, we have to provide accessible. So we have the stairs, which we will make sure of the safety of that. And we have to put a list, because later on when we go to construction documents, permit documents, the staff will ask us, hey, what happens to ADA code? They will need one. And please, because there were some comments earlier, these are all schematics. These are for us to discuss and see what you want and what the other wants, and impact of the community, and add to what we have here. So, like the comment about the sign being below, the signs have to be coordinated with city zoning and sign ordinance. These are just schematics, and we will do whatever city requires, the planning and zoning development requires to comply with code.
Okay, but, well, that doesn't make sense. You're asking for variances and waivers. So,
On which work?
several, I don't even have my screen on right now.
Yeah, but what is the relation of that to the list we were talking about?
Well, no, the list is one thing, but you broaden that whole, answer to the question.
Sorry.
The list is just for, that's ADA. And it's like an elevator.
Yeah, I would just, I wanted to stress that we will comply with code after this section, after the variance, if that is something for the building code. That is not like this is the city zoning ordinance code. I was talking more about the building code.
Okay.
And the items from the stairs and the lift and sign, these are buildings, so the after this section is finalized.
Okay, so I do want to question a little bit more about the lift. So is this going to be, you will be installing it?
It would be an industrial lift.
Okay, so just a platform with a railing around it?
Railing around, like, 3 to 6
Okay.
high railing.
All right.
And I just have one more question. Have any of the other tenants been informed, and have they had any other feedback regarding this project?
Brian, who's going to be most impacted, would certainly help him. He's been looked at it, he has concerns, he's fine with it. Brian, he already had that far.
Nice hardware. Thank you. Thank you. And public, have they been informed?
Well, public, no, we're not talking to public because it's really that, there's no bearing on them. We're on the far end of the parking lot from them, and so there's just, and you're right, the smaller tenants, the primary impact is right there in line, basically.
Thank you for helping me understand.
Oh, one more thing. Talk to me about the sign at the street, the monument side of the street. Is this kind of, you want to do that regardless of what we decide with this, or what?
We really need it for this because we, these are going to be rolling tenants, and we just can't go change those plates every time we want to do that. I mean, they need no visibility from any road, basically. And so this is an opportunity to give a reboard so we can change for the season and the tenant and the operation.
Okay, so you want to change the big upper cabinet to kind of update it, and then the electronic, kind of a rolling thing below. Okay.
And these new LED signs are really nice. They don't look as tacky as they used to at all. At the bottom.
Just based on the church on Chamblee, Dunwoody Drive, it needs to be still. It doesn't need to be like changing as you're driving down the road and that kind of stuff and flashing and doing things. It needs to be, I don't know if we can put that in there, but that
makes sense.
It just needs to be, I understand how to change it, but it doesn't need to like keep like animated. Is that can we say that, animate, it can't be animated, but it can be, I know we get into the weird sign and stuff.
We would have to look at that. I mean, we would have to come up with something specific. So it might be a, inability to change the sign, every 30 days, 30 minutes, something to that effect. So we can come back with some conditions on
I think
that.
your point was you don't want movement on the sign.
Well, and, I wouldn't be opposed to, limiting changing the copy every 30 days or something like that,
Okay.
But again, this is just something new, so we can certainly talk about it and when they have it before. But I definitely don't want anything animated, moving, or whatever, flashing. Eat a donut now, the one in Chamblee done what is terrible, so.
I'd like to have it more, because if we got 4 tenants back there, I'd like to be able to, if it's gonna be one board, it's not gonna be 4 different places on here, so we'll need to roll it 10 minutes, 20 minutes or something like that. It's kind of the idea behind it. But not, I understand no animation, no dogs running across the screen, fireworks going on.
Yeah, okay, well, we got the details, so that's what, there's time between now and Tuesday 4th. So think about it.
Yeah, John, now I'm really getting into the weeds, but I'm just curious, how does it work with licensing and permitting and health inspections and all this kind of stuff when you have rolling tenants in and out?
Well, my understanding would be each tenant would have to be, I know each tenant would have to have an occupation tax certificate, would have to get approval from the Board of Health. My understanding, though, is that you can have the area kind of pre-certified for those types of tenants, so that it's a relatively quicker process. But they will have to go through their own. Each individual tenant will have to go through that process.
There's probably some other models.
Yeah.
That have done this. We're not bidding something that's never happened before.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends when he says rolling, or is he saying? And it really depends on the business model, and I'd have to know a little bit more on that.
Short term in our world, months, not days. Yeah, so like
Gotcha.
All right, have we beat this one to death?
Getting close.
Very good. Grapes and grains sign variance. Any questions from council, comments?
Sure. Come on up. No, I'm pretty good. Well, I guess the first time I looked at. Go back to that previous slide. There, I guess the scale looks off to me, but now that I know we're looking at it in an angle, but I said, how is it? Go back to the next slide, so what it can pick up. You see how that sign doesn't look like it occupied nothing up down, but over this way, it looks like it occupied a lot of it, and I'm just wondering, where's the mural? It says mural in there, but just that bottom panel?
Mural is below, there were matching windows for the second floor, there, on both sides. So the things what I call single and kind of a double, they were all taken out on those spots. To make it a solid wall, for protection of inventory and things like that. That's where the mural is going on both. Where is the window space? Really all across. I don't know where the windows are.
Underneath those windows over there, there's going to be a square underneath that single window and one rectangle one underneath the 2 windows.
Where that sheet between, and then there's a lattice work, that would go between the 2 windows, bringing some plot, plan.
And it annoys me that that's not in the center of that space, that plane sign, but I'm sure there's probably a logical reason, but I just wasn't at this.
Well, again, there's a lattice work that will go up between those windows that fits in with the mural work that's below it. The only place to fix the sign is on the far, I'm looking at from the building, is the far left. And that's where we have it.
From the far right. Yeah, that's the far right of that. That's far left of the
I'm facing the building is on the far left.
Oh, far
opening mechanism? Go back to the other thing.
I don't know, I'm lost. So, I'm looking at that white vertical strip.
Yeah.
It is on the right side of that small box, what vertical strip on my mind.
Yes, it's on the right, half of it, the right side of it, sure, yes, it's on the left, it's right on the edge of the windows.
I got it, I just,
Where's that, the building curve?
Yeah.
Is it the curved corner? That's where you.
Old brick barbecue in the background.
Yeah, I know where it is,
Yeah,
like I said, it was
I think important to understand is the building, again, is recessed pretty far back off the road, and all the south facing and the north facing sides have no visibility from the road, at all. That's the reason for it.
I'm sure it's fine.
I like where it's located too, because for a good portion of the time, the drive-by time, if you will, like if you put it right on the, not that there's a corner, but on the corner of the building, it would have all sky behind it and it wouldn't be as visible. The way that it is here, closer to the window, you have that stark white behind it and makes that sign pop out a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with the location of it. I'm curious about the mural. I have, believe it or not, I've seen it too. So we'll see about that, but we're not talking about that tonight.
Any other questions about the sign? No other questions?
But I should like this.
What font is that?
And, that's something that we have amongst ourselves talked about, which is creativity with signage. And, I think it looks great. Yeah.
I think it looks great too.
Anybody want to move on to the next item on the agenda?
You just gotta lead us
Thank you.
on, Brian.
3812 Donaldson Drive, stream buffer variance. Did we have anything on that, John? I didn't see anything.
Sharon, did you get this?
This is a deferral from last month.
This is the deferral, but did we have updated information?
Well, I got a picture, but I thought it had been run back through the development department, and I don't know why we don't have a picture of the new, design from the development department. I don't know why that's not in this packet.
Does anybody have it? We can put it on the screen.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Such a demanding.
So what's changed?
No, this is the old.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I didn't see any changes. Yeah, this is the old one.
Yeah, so this is, the original site plan, showing the, 22-foot deep, 11-foot wide, concrete pad. There would be a, approximately, for this one and for the revised one, 36-inch high retaining wall, supporting it, and, so it was 220 square feet, for single vehicle, and then there is a newer plan as well. Ta-da! I sent you the old one. Okay. That is,
Refresher.
it's on page 141 of your packet, and I'm getting it to John right now.
Oh.
It shows it's still 20 feet deep, but it's now 18 feet wide to accommodate two cars parking side by side. So it increased from 220 square feet in the 50 and 75 foot stream buffer to 360 square feet.
You have it?
It's on 141.
It's in the agenda.
It is in the agenda packet.
Well,
So this is the old one.
That it was.
To that.
Got the flared.
That's 20 by 11.
Both, on both sides, it's
Wow.
flared like we had asked for. So,
I like being so close to
design
my
is going, you're gonna need a retaining wall all the way around it. Because it's not right, it's not built just off of the front porch.
Mr. John, could you come to the microphone?
I'm sorry. So, you're
Whatever
gonna
is
have to
in
be
there, I
retaining
didn't
wall
mess
all the way
up. I
around.
just,
And then you're gonna have that
put it on
sort
there.
of
That's correct. So again, it's progressing from 6 inches at a max of 42 inches, so, all the way around. So,
You are gonna have the railing,
that's correct.
and that will be all the way around?
Yes.
You're gonna have a bridge from it to the front door or anything like that?
No bridge, no bridge.
So that little pocket between the proposed front porch, which actually exists now, and your driveway is going to be down.
That's correct. It's slightly lower than the, elevation of the porch, right?
Any other questions for the applicant? Very good, we'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
It's just a stopper, basically. It's just an extra precaution for, it not hitting the railing.
So you don't drive off of it?
Yeah.
Very good. And, thank you, sir. Andrew?
Sorry. I just want to clarify that staff's recommendation still is denial, but if council should motion to approve the request, staff's recommendation is that it be consistent with the original site plan of the 11-foot wide by 20-foot deep pad. As when we look at these, especially stream buffers, we're looking at what's the minimum necessary to accomplish the need or the ask, and the original request is seen as closely meeting that minimum necessary, as stated initially by the applicant, to be able to turn around and pull out, facing out, and we've added some recommended conditions should council motion to approve it, which include the retaining wall materials would match those used on the house, like the brick used on the house. The retaining wall would have to be faced with brick or stone, but we would just, for continuity, recommend that, and that there be some vegetation planted to soften the appearance from the street, like where it meets the ground. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Andrew.
So you're saying if we approve, you want to go with the 20 by 11, not the 20 by 18?
That would be our recommendation.
That would be,
okay. Yes, Councilwoman.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
All right, under Parks and Recreation, we have an MOU between the City of Chamblee and Keep Chamblee Beautiful.
Yes. We are seeking approval to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Keep Chamblee Beautiful through a memorandum of understanding. The existing MOU expired on January 1st of this year. The new MOU would take effect on March 1st of this year, and it would renew annually each year on January 1st. The terminology from the old MOU to the new MOU is exactly the same, with the exception of one paragraph, and it was put on there, but I'm going to read this out loud just because it's the only change that's on there. The city may choose to allocate funding to Keep Chamblee Beautiful to support a paid position of executive director, which is a requirement by Keep America Beautiful for affiliation and good standing. Or the city may assign a city staff member to fulfill the role of executive director of Keep Chamblee Beautiful, subject to approval by the Keep Chamblee Beautiful Board of Directors. And that is the only change that's listed on that.
Questions for Jody? No?
Who are they going to appoint to this executive director position?
You?
Well, it's up to the city to decide who they want to appoint to it.
Very good. Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome.
All right, nothing under Finance, Public Works. Second, oh my gosh, it's a clean looking. No first or second reads, nothing under Council. So we are all the way down to citizen comments. Anybody in the audience have anything to say? You got 3 minutes. Come on up and speak.
3 minutes, state your name.
Nothing. John, do we have an executive session?
We do have an executive session to discuss personnel matters.
Gosh darn it. Somebody want to make a motion to go
Motion
into...
to adjourn to executive session to discuss personnel matters.
And we will exit out and head over to the room next door, and then we'll come back in and close out the meeting. So if anybody wants to stick around, we'll be back shortly. Session.
Motion taken in executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Yay?
Aye.
Anybody else want to get out of here?
Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
No, we don't.